Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Today we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about jewels in Wizard101. Now I've had a couple people ask me, Noah, what are the best jewels to use in the game? Which one should I go for? Is this jewel useful? And I was like, you know what? Let's just make a video about it. Today I'm going to go jewel by jewel, talk about everything you need to know, how to unlock jewels, how to unlock socket slots on your items, and even pins later on. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now first off, jewels are unlocked at level 15. So to actually use jewels in any way, you need to be level 15, and you'll get a quest from Eloise in the commons to come here to the jewel shop. This isn't incredibly important because most of your jewels are going to be farmed rather than actually purchased. Either way, you can come here for at least some jewels that are in the game, at least early on, and also Archmastery Jewels, which I will talk about in a second. Now, if you come to an item that has jewel slots, as you can see here, like this one has circle and tier, to unlock them, you either need to spend crowns or use socket wrenches. Now there are 7 different socket wrenches in the game that I will throw up here on the screen. Now you can also go into the description below and I will have a link to a spreadsheet that you can basically click on each of these and look at everything that drops these socket wrenches. So if you don't actually like one of the mobs I picked for the easiest to farm, you can go there and see if there is a better mob to farm. But let me just say 99% of what I said here is going to be the best mobs to farm in the game for these socket wrenches, because realistically they are quite a rare drop. Now for the novice socket wrench, which is like level 15 items, that's from Crocopatra, and also I believe Meowie already drops it, but obviously doing Crocopatra is going to be way faster than climbing all of Big Ben to get to Meowie. Adept socket wrenches are dropped from Jade Oni. This is like level 40 items or so, and obviously Jade Oni is just a single boss fight, so probably the easiest way to go about it. Expert socket wrenches are dropped by Akalos. You unlock this boss from Thurston Plunkett in Crustacean Empire. You follow his quest, he'll tell you to go to like some little pillar thing, and then it'll lead you to Akalos's lair. Farm him, you get the expert socket wrenches, and that's for like around level 60 items. Master socket wrench, unfortunately, is incredibly rare. The only drop that's not a key boss is actually from Pendragon and Avalon, which is not the best boss to farm, but it's really your only option for master socket wrenches. Artisan socket wrenches are dropped from Morganth at the end of Chrysalis. Those are going to be for like level 100 items. Grandmaster socket wrenches are from like around level 130, and that's from Grandfather Spider in Mirage. Now, again, there's no real easy drop besides Grandfather Spider, which is a bit unfortunate, but you can farm them from him. And then finally, legendary socket wrenches are for basically the max level items in this game right now. And luckily, Crash the Bandicoot, who is a side boss in the Wabagong territory in Wallaroo, which also drops, I believe, the amulets for the Reaver gear. He drops them quite frequently, so if you want, you can farm them from him. That is basically all of the socket wrenches. Now, let me just say, obviously, beyond socket wrenches, you can unlock these sockets for crowns. Personally, I would say that for 99% of items, and especially early game items, if you want to unlock the jewel slots, you would be better off spending crowns, because socket wrenches are quite difficult to get. The only exception to that would probably be with Crash the Bandicoot and max level items. Farming for them would be easier in that case. Now, some things to know about actually jewels when you socket them. When you affix a jewel, as you can see here, if I affix this jewel and put it in, obviously that item will now give that stat. Now, once you affix a jewel to something, you cannot put it in your shared bank, so keep that in mind. If you want to transfer an item and jewels to another character, put them both, the jewel and the item, in the shared bank and then put it on the other character, because you can't put them on first and then put it in your shared bank. And that's basically everything you need to know about socket wrenches. Let's quickly get into Archmastery Jewels, because I've had this asked a few times. If you don't know, before level 50 you don't generate Archmastery rating naturally, which means the only way to get it is actually through jewels. If you come to the Wizard City Jewel shop right here, you can see you can get a square jewel or you can get a tier jewel for Archmastery rating. This will allow you to generate it. So if you have lore spells before level 50 and you want to use them, you need to come to the jewel shop and buy one of these jewels, socket it onto an item, and there you go. Now that should be enough preamble, enough background for jewels. Let's get into the best jewels of every type. Now to begin, we're starting off incredibly easy, because tier jewels only really have one very useful jewel, and that is a health jewel. Now you'll be getting these extremely frequently just questing through the game. You can see I have a ton of like 150 plus health ones right here that I can just affix to anything that that needs a tier slot. Now, I think the only other jewel that could be worth 4 tier is energy, but if you're doing those, I would suggest just making a full energy set. Don't have that on your main gear. For all your main gear, you're just going to be using health jewels, which again, incredibly easy to get. You're just going to be getting as you quest through the game. Next up, we have circle jewels. Now, circle jewels are quite interesting because for the vast majority of the early game, you're going to be getting the flat damage ones and then the critical ones. Now, both of these are fine to affix into an item, but I wouldn't say that they're anything incredibly useful. I would say if you're going to use them, just socket them in and then be ready later on to shatter them and then to just, you know, replace them with something actually useful, such as Pierce. At level 95 or also 85, I think starts dropping the 5% ones. You can get these Pierce jewels. I would highly recommend these. As soon as you can get Pierce jewels, just socket them in until you can get a decent amount of Pierce. I have like 40% Pierce. I could probably get even higher if I shattered one of my damaged ones and then replaced it with a Pierce one. Pierce jewels, the best place to get them is from the genie enemies in the Irem Palace of Mirage. I've found that's the best place that just drops them if you just spam farm those enemies. But obviously you can get them from different enemies throughout the game as well, or you can even potentially craft them. I believe you can also buy multi-Pierce jewels from Selenopolis. I don't know how easy they are to get, but I think that it would at least be worth mentioning. Those are some of the best ways to get Pierce jewels throughout the game, and those are what you're going to use for the vast majority up until you hit level 170. Now, once you hit 170, you're going to be unlocking a new type of jewel, and one that is probably the most broken jewel in the game, and that is the damage jewels. And this is percent damage, not the flat damage that you had earlier on, because the damage jewels allow you to stack a massive amount of damage on a character. Obviously, there is a damage cap, so like you can see I have 241 damage, but it nerfs itself down to 238. I could socket another like 4 damage jewels if I wanted to. However, the damage cap, I've reached it, so there's no real point in doing that. Now, you want to basically gain the ability to craft these damage jewels right here by getting the badge to craft them. The way to do that is to get the defeat Freddy like 15 times badge from Wallaroo. Freddy player 1 right here. Defeat Freddy 10 defeats. Once you do that, you unlock the ability to do the circle jewels, and you can get Dream Water to craft them. Dream Water, very easy to farm from like Crash Bandicoot if you wanted to. And then you can start crafting these circle damage jewels. What I would highly recommend for max level is to use the damage jewels up until you reach the damage cap like I did, and then start socketing Pierce jewels. So you can see I reached 230 damage or 238 damage, and then I started socketing the Pierce ones to get my Pierce up to an acceptable amount as well. My Pierce could be higher, but it's decent enough as is. So this is pretty much all you need to know for circle jewels. Next up, let's talk about square jewels. And square jewels are luckily quite easy ones because there isn't really that good square jewels in the entirety of the game. The best square jewels to get are, if you want for some reason, stun resist can be decent. The defense ones are okay, but I would say that the best square ones are going to be outgoing healing for life. And then once you finally reach max level 170, you can get these health giving ones in Wallaroo for the exact same thing that I said before with jewels. You can just craft them here and get the, you can see the health jewels, or you can get the mending ones. This is outgoing healing as well. Those are some of the best in the game. I don't think the block ones are really worth it. Otherwise, these are the best jewels. Square is probably the easiest because basically they're all useless up until like max level anyway, besides mending on life. Quick and easy section. Let's get into triangle jewels now, which are probably going to be the ones that you want the most. Now, triangle has 3 separate jewels that I would say are really good to get. The first one is power pip, the second one is accuracy, and the third one is potentially item cards. Now, what I would highly recommend is to use the triangle jewels to get your power pip chance and your accuracy up to 100% if they aren't already. That's what I would recommend, especially for early levels. You want to be socketing those accuracy jewels and the power pip jewels to get them as high as possible. Accuracy jewels are dropped extremely frequently, so I'm not going to go over the best ways to get those. You should just naturally have quite a few, but for power pip, I found that in Imperia, the Calamar Raiders are the best way to get the power pip ones. They do drop the 10% pip ones semi-frequently, and then if you just can't stand to try to farm for those, you can obviously craft them from the same vendor that I mentioned right here. For this one, you need to defeat the fleet battle 15 times, I believe, to actually get the triangle jewels. But once you have done that, you can craft all of the triangle jewels and socket them into your items. I don't think conversion or shadow pip is particularly useful. Again, pip and accuracy is going to be your best friend. Now, in terms of item jewels, there are a few item card triangle jewels that I would say are potentially worth getting that I've gone over in a few videos, but I'll talk about again real fast. Getting the Morganth AoE spells can be pretty good to have. Those are dropped from Baba Yaga or from the jewel packs in the crown shop. Potentially potentially getting Deer Knight early on a wizard is going to be good, or getting the epic enchant card is going to be good. I don't think really anything else is worth mentioning. Having an AoE spell is obviously very good for life and death if you can get a triangle AoE. Otherwise, the other AoEs aren't the best in the world, and I would just highly recommend socketing a power pip or a accuracy jewel instead. Now that is all of the different main jewels you're going to be socketing on items. Let's talk about pet jewels now. Now pet jewels are going to be pretty easy because there's only a few you're going to want. Basically what you're going to want is you're going to find what pet you want to craft. So say it's like a 5 damage pet or a triple double, whatever. The main jewels you're going to want is either a mighty jewel or something that's going to increase strength or power to a big extent. Basically one that gives like plus 50 of either of those stats is going to be really good. Or if you miss a talent and you get like mighty or whatever stat boosting talent you want on the main pet, then you're going to want to socket one of these jewels instead, like a boon, a dealer, a proof, a giver. Basically that's really it for pets. I think there are energy jewels for pets as well, but as I mentioned earlier, you basically only want that if you specifically have an energy pet. Otherwise, not really important to socket it, but basically that's it. It's going to be a damage, a resist talent on your pet, and you're going to be getting these jewels semi-frequently. If not, you get them from basically the same sources as like the Calamar Raiders, like I said earlier. So farm those up. Otherwise, you basically just want a damage talent if you can find it. Okay, now finally in this video, I want to talk about pins real quick. Now, I just want to say I am not the most knowledgeable on pins because I usually don't dual school on any of my wizards whatsoever. So I'm not the best one to talk about pins, but I will mention what I think are the best ones, and that is going to be obviously the ones that give damage and pierce, and then the ones that give accuracy. I believe that those are called the punishing pins for sword pins, and I'm not sure what the accuracy pins are, but you definitely want accuracy if you can get it for that school, and that's basically going to be what you want to socket onto your sets. Otherwise, I don't think the pins are particularly worth it. Obviously, if you want a dual school, those are going to be the ones to go for, and you can, again, probably craft them from Bingo here in the crafter. Yeah, you can see the punishing pins right here are going to be really good to craft for dual schooling, and then the accuracy pins are going to be the best. I don't think any of these, like, yeah, the conversion pins aren't going to be worth it, and the resist or the block pins aren't going to be worth it really either. Obviously, if you have a gear slot with something on it that has these, you can put it on. Otherwise, I don't think any of these are particularly worth mentioning. Now, that should be basically it for jewels. That should be everything you need to know. Obviously, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and if you have any questions about how to get specific jewels, I'll try to reply. I did try to bring up the most common jewel farm locations for, like, you know, obviously pierce and pet jewels, whatnot. I can't go over every single thing in this video because it'll be 50 minutes long of me talking about a bunch of random enemies in the spiral. So if you have a question, leave it in the comments. I'll try to answer it, or just Google it yourself if you're not lazy and you don't want me to Google it for you. Anyways, I digress. Thank you all for watching. I hope that this was useful. If it was, drop a like, hit the sub button. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Have a fantastic day.